Troll is a 2022 Norwegian monster action movie distributed by Netflix. I didn't watch it when it was first released, despite Norwegian media and culture being one of the things I cover on this channel, as well as pop culture in general. Despite middling audience reception, it was a huge hit at the time. So with Troll 2 on the near horizon while I'm making this video, and probably released by the time you are watching it, I figured it was finally time to take the plunge. The very first video essay I posted on this channel was about Theodor Kittelsen, the artist who pretty much single-handedly defined how a troll was supposed to look like in the collective folk imagination of the Norwegian people. For those who don't know, even the famous classical piece Hall of the Mountain King is about a royal court of trolls inside the mountain, so you can see how much troll folklore has seeped into Norwegian culture over the years. As opposed to the wider world, in Norway the word troll does not refer to a single type of creature, but is a collective term for several types of human-like beings in Nordic folklore and fairy tales. What others might refer to as orcs, goblins or giants, we all call trolls. Even the Norwegian word for wizard is trollman, and the Norwegian word for magic is troll judgment. Anything weird and magical was thought to be caused by trolls back in the day. I remember hiking in the Norwegian mountains when I was younger, imagining scenes from a movie or maybe video game where hordes of different types and sizes of trolls would come pouring out of the mountains. So I really think they are limiting their imagination by only focusing on one type of troll. At least they have furtive ground for many sequels. And apparently this is something the movie Troll Hunter has going for it, so I guess I better get around to covering that soon. But for what it is, this movie is actually really awesome. And what it is a big fun Hollywood-inspired action movie with a lot of thought behind it. Troll opens in the stunning Norwegian mountains, where a young Nora Tidman hikes with her father Tobias, a folklore enthusiast who passionately believes in the literal existence of Norway's mythical creatures. They are probably named after Norwegian romantic nationalism painter Adolf Tidemann, and not this guy from the Norwegian version of Sesame Street that I kept thinking about every time I heard the name. Overlooking the Trollwall mountain massif, Tobias reminds Nora of the old tale that the troll wall is made up of members of a troll wedding party who drank so much that they forgot to hide from the sun, and were turned into stone. He also tries to convince her that trolls are not just stories, but were real beings that once walked the earth. For now, she is still fairly open to the idea. The film then leaps forward 20 years, where Nora has grown into a respected paleontologist, one grounded in science and distanced from her father's eccentric ideas. Trouble begins when drilling from tunnel construction deep inside the Dovre Mountains triggers what seems at first to be a major geological event. The tunneling project quickly becomes a national emergency when workers are killed. The government gathers a large group of all sorts of experts in anything underground related, which includes archaeology. So Nora is invited as part of this group. It first seems like she was just included as an act of over-preparedness by the government, but she soon takes control of the operation room when she notices animalistic sounds in footage from the event, and then spots a large shape in the dusty chaos. Now believing the creature to be some sort of prehistoric being, like a dinosaur or something, the Prime Minister lets Nora lead a team to investigate. Nora is joined by the Prime Minister's advisor Andreas Isaksen and a military troop led by Captain Christopher Holm, or Captain Chris as she ends up calling him. After the troll tramples an old couple's home out in the middle of beautiful nowhere, they go there to investigate. Even with her scientific background, Nora cannot explain the enormous tracks. However, their irregular shape nags at her, sparking faint memories of her father's stories. It's not long before Nora visits Tobias, who have previously been institutionalized due to his obsessive convictions about trolls, in what turns out to have been a deliberate conspiracy to quiet him. While I enjoy all performances in the film, Tobias is one of my favorite characters, along with Andreas and this guy. They are all written and performed very charmingly, and are probably the most funny characters in the film. When she shows him images from the tunnel catastrophe, Tobias reacts with excitement rather than surprise. To him, the truth is obvious. A troll has awakened, and I really like that part of his seemingly crazed ramblings includes mention of Kittelsen paintings. Nora is embarrassed, reluctant to present such a theory to government officials, but Tobias insists she'll see the truth when the creature reveals itself. And he's right. A dramatic encounter in the mountains confirms that the threat is no prehistoric animal when it reveals itself from its mountainous camouflage. The team comes face to face with a gargantuan humanoid creature made of earth and stone, clearly, unmistakably, a troll. Their helicopter surveillance captures footage that leaves no room for skepticism, you would think. But there's actually a fair deal of denial from all parts even after this this point, and after hearing Tobias out, the government actually takes Nora off the case before ordering a military strike on the creature led by Captain Chris. Tobias convinces Nora to not give up, and the two of them and Andreas convinces Chris to bring them along for the operation. As the troll descends the mountains and travels toward populated areas, its behavior appearing more confused than aggressive, the military launches a full assault. This is a really fun chaotic action sequence. But explosives, gunfire, and armored vehicles prove useless. The troll withstands everything. Worse, the violence enrages it, leading to destruction far beyond what it had initially shown. During the confrontation, Tobias attempts to communicate with the troll, calling out in an ancient tongue and pleading for peace. For a brief moment, the troll seems to recognize what he's saying, but as a mounted gun opens fire again, the creature turns to look, and its giant rocky tail inadvertently smashes into Tobias, killing him. As he dies in Nora's arms, he gives her the cryptic words, "the palace, the king, and home." He begs her to believe, before finally passing away. Tobias's death becomes an emotional catalyst for Nora. No longer dismissive, she begins to embrace the possibility that folklore contains forgotten truths, remembering that during the chaos, the troll seemed to smell out a soldier that was praying while panicking. She remembers the old saying that trolls can smell Christian blood. She then remembers another old piece of troll lore, that trolls would hurl rocks at churches because the church bells hurt their ears. So they strap church bells to 4 helicopters and approach it just as it walks over the Hunderfossen theme park. If I hadn't been there on vacation myself as a child, I would have assumed that this place is somewhere they made up for the movie, because the theme of this park is Norwegian folklore, fairy tales and myths. So I had a good chuckle when the park was revealed in the movie, because this is the perfect setting for an action scene in this film. The plan works as the troll is very much affected by the bells, but it manages to take down all the helicopters. So when the team returns to Oslo, Nora is taken off the case, and Chris is reassigned to help evacuate the city. The government starts to grow desperate and decides to shoot the creature with some experimental missiles that have not yet been cleared for use, which will likely destroy much of the city in the process. Andreas resigns, but the order stands. Seeking answers, Nora and Andreas unearths a hidden royal conspiracy. They discover that trolls once lived peacefully in the kingdom, but were eradicated by King Olaf during the Christianization of Norway, a period when the Norse Christians really did use a lot of horrible and violent tactics in order to convert people from the old Norse faith of Odin and Thor over to Christianity. They slaughtered the troll clan and imprisoned their king inside the mountain. The royal castle in Oslo was later built on top of the ruins of the Troll King's old home, where the last remaining troll bones are still secretly stored. With the troll now free, it seems to be driven by revenge for what was done, and a wish to return home to what has now been turned into the Norwegian royal family's castle. In a race against time, Nora and her allies try to divert the troll from the city. They get Andreas's hacker girlfriend to stop the fighter jets from deploying the missiles, using the skeleton of his long-dead child as bait, which is insane both conceptually and visually. They manage to lead the troll to a secluded area outside Oslo, which is yearly used for Norway Cup, a youth football tournament.
Hvis vi overlevde her, så skylder den Pepsi Max-en til blodrådet.
I'm a Norwegian. Of course I have a
Pepsi Max addiction that I'm never gonna fix.
On the way there, the head falls off the back of the car and the troll stops to grieve his dead child before going completely berserk, which leads to this very Edgar Wright type shot, which I enjoyed. Having previously discovered that direct exposure to UV lighting will turn trolls into stone, much like how they do when exposed to sunlight in old fairy tales, she instructed Captain Chris to make a trap out of artificial UV sources, such as tanning beds. Together they unleash a blinding blast of artificial light, weakening the troll. But feeling bad for the troll, Nora turns off the lights and begs him to return to the mountains, so that they won't have to take him down. But before the troll gets a chance to, the real sunrise crests the mountains, and the troll falls down. In a heartbreaking moment, the creature looks at Nora, not in anger, but in sorrow, before turning entirely to stone. They are all pretty quickly over tragedy, however, and walks off pretty happy with themselves. And fair enough, they did save the city, even if there was no justice for the troll. In the final scene, the camera returns to the mountains. Deep within the darkness of Norway's Dovre mountain tunnel, another massive shape stirs, suggesting the troll was not the last of its kind, leaving us with a cliffhanger for the sequel. I had a really good time with this movie, so now I'm pretty hyped for the next one. Let me know in the comments if I should cover that one too. I have a Patreon and a YouTube membership program that you can join if you want early access, exclusive videos, and a thanks in the credits. Have a great week, everyone.